Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een wa ba'd. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, we have covered up to ayat 231, and last time we stopped there. The discussion, just a quick review for those who were not here last week. The discussion is taking place about the types of talaq. Allah has already talked about nikah, and now how the separation process comes into effect. That's what's being discussed. We've already talked about the types of talaq. When a person gives one time, he has the chance of taking her back. Twice, he still has the chance. But when the third time occurs, then there is no chance unless that she goes through another nikah. فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدِ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. He cannot marry her until she goes through another nikah, and that has to be done without planning, because Rasulullah ﷺ has said that Allah has cursed those individuals that plan out the halala. That's why it cannot be done pre-planned. Also, we have discussed the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when you give the talaq, and if it's 1 and 2, after the 3 months, after the period of iddat is complete, now she is out of his nikah. But if they want to get married again, it is allowed for them to go through a tajdeed nikah, to refresh the nikah again. It is allowed for them. It has to be done with the consent of the woman, because he cannot just take her back anymore. A new nikah has to come into existence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you want, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. If you want to keep them, then you have to do it in the best of manners. If you're going to leave them, then you have to do that in the best of manners as well. The things that go on today related to talaq, it's a very ugly and a very disturbing case that people go through, and there's so much depression involved. But the way Islam puts it, that there is no other resort than come out peacefully, and do it in accordance with ihsan, that you are giving the extra step for kindness and fairness. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا آيَاتِ اللَّهِ هُزُوًا. Do not take the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a joke. Then people are doing talaq, then taking them back, giving talaq, taking them back. So a person came to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, and he said that I have given 100 times talaq to my wife. So he said that 3 have occurred, and 97 times you have played with the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he became extremely angry when he found out that a person had given talaq all 3 at once. He said, أَيَلْعَبُ بِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Are you playing with the hukum and the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وَأَنَا بَيْنَ أَظْهُرِكُمْ. And I am amongst you, and you are doing such a severe act. So this is not something which is to joke around. That's why there's a lot of counseling that takes place. And then finally, if nothing else works, the ulama ikram will tell you that this is the peaceful way of separation. So we've discussed that up to here. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Fear Allah and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of every single thing. Now continuing from ayat 232. 232, that's the next one now. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ. When you have given talaq to your women, this is another case that comes up. Talaq takes place, فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ. Iddat is also finished. Now the time she was waiting, that time is expired as well. فَلَا تَعْدُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ. Do not stop your women from marrying their husband if there is a mutual agreement in the recognized manner. What does this mean? That when 1 talaq happens or 2, and this person doesn't take his wife back, then after the iddat finishes, automatically she is out of the nikah. After the iddat finishes, usually the women go back to their own home, to their father's home, or they're living with their brother. And if it's a talaq done in 1 and 2 form, then what can be done is that if they want to get back together again, they would have to do a new nikah. Now, if the husband and the previous wife, they decide we want to be back again, what happens in many cases is the in-laws, the father and the brother, they will say that don't make this mistake again. They will not let her get married again to the same person, and all of them would get involved in stopping. You find in most cases, people are on the side of breaking the relationship up, and there will only be few people that will try to actually fix the situation. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if they have mutually understood, the husband, the previous husband and the previous wife, they want to be husband-wife again, So do not stop them from doing this. So they have agreed upon it and they're doing it according to the Sharia, then it should not be stopped. What happened was a Sahabi by the name of Ma'qal bin Yasar radiallahu anhu. He gave his sister into the nikah of somebody. After a while, they broke up. The talaq took place. She came back to his house. Few months later, that previous husband comes back to him and says that I have decided to remarry her again. She also agreed. So Ma'qal bin Yasar radiallahu anhu said, how dare you? First I give you my daughter, my sister, and then you come back with this attitude after giving a talaq that you're going to marry. He said, Wallahi, I will not give my sister to you again. He took a qasam over there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed these ayats that we are not allowed to stop them from getting married again. Yes, consultation, mashura can be done, but if the previous husband and wife, they want to remarry, they want to do a new nikah and want to live again, so the in-laws and the family members, they should not get involved in stopping her from doing so. She has the right to it's her consent, so she has the right to remarry. So right when these ayat were revealed, Ma'qal radiallahu anhu's anger, it cooled. He finished. This was the quality of the Sahaba Ikram, that their personal things did not come in contradiction with the Sharia. If they didn't like to do something and Allah reveals to do it, then forget what I like or dislike. Let's go ahead with Allah subhanahu. This is what is called submission, and we find this in the life. There's two incidents. That it was one with Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, also similar case. He was extremely angry. He didn't want to put his cousin back into the nikah, in her previous nikah. But when Allah revealed this, that you are not allowed to stop them from remarrying, they said, okay, it is allowed. So if Allah says, then our anger will be put aside. And they went ahead and let them get married again. So this was the quality of Sahaba Ikram. We'll find again and again. It's obedience. Today what we do is that we want the ayat and the ahkam of Allah to follow us instead of us following the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we have to take the Sahaba Ikram an example in all cases. So here then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not stop them. أَن يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ. If they want to remarry their previous husbands, إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. If it's done mutually. So two conditions are mentioned here, that both the husband and wife, they want to get back together. She's not being forced. This man cannot force her because she's no longer his wife. But if they agree that we are going to do this again, they can do the nikah and start living together. The other condition is that it has to be according to Shariat. It cannot be that, okay, let's live again together, let's not do the nikah. Or if they're doing something which is haram, then people have the right. The in-laws, anyone can stop, because now it's a munkar, it's a forbidden act, and every Muslim has the responsibility to remind and to stop an action to the best of his ability, which is going against the Sharia. So if she decides to do it in a way which is against, that's going against ma'roof. That's why it says, إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. That when they are happily getting back together in accordance to the recognized way, which is the Sharia. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. और जब तुम अपनी औरतों को तलाक दे दो, فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ. और उनकी इद्दत पूरी हो जाए, فَلَا تَعْدُلُوهُنَّ. बस उनको रोको नहीं, أَن يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ, कि वो अपने पिछले शोहरों से निकाह दोबारा कर लें. إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. अगर दोनों इस बात पर राजी हों, बिलमारूफ, दस्तूर के मुताबिक, जो सही तरीका है. ذَلِكَ يُوعَظُ بِهِ مَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. This is a nasiha, this is an advice for those who believe in Allah and in the last day. ये नसीहत है उनके लिए जो आखिरत के दिन में और अल्लाह पर ईमान रखते हैं. ذَلِكُمْ. Why does Allah, you notice that after every law, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds that, look, it's up to you. If you, right now, you're in charge, you can do things against Sharia, but you're not going to get around the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to give accountability for it. So only those who abide by this law, there are those who really have iman in Allah, and they really have iman in the last day. ذَلِكُمْ أَزْكَى لَكُمْ وَأَطْهَرُ. That is more pure and clean for you. That means in a physical way as well, that if the husband and wife, they get back together, and if they had children, in all cases, there's benefit for everyone. It's a winning case. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if you stop them from this, it's possible they might get into haram. It's possible the children might be in the wrong custody because of... So everything will come together, and this is the more pure procedure of doing it. That's why Allah is saying, ذَلِكُمْ أَزْكَى لَكُمْ وَأَطْهَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows and you do not know. this portion of the ayat, you see that it is repeated many times. The idea that is being transferred here is that put aside what you think and what you know. When Allah is saying this is the rule, that's it, that's the rule. And this comes a lot in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you have been brought from the wombs of your mother. Wallahu akhrajakum min butuni ummahatikum la ta'lamuna shay'a. You didn't know anything. That's our reality. All of us, as an origin, we are jahil. We don't have any knowledge whatsoever. Only thing that we know is what has been given to us by Allah. So we cannot forget that factor. If I say that I am a knowledgeable person and I don't refer it to Allah, then that's a problem there. That's a burden. It's going to become a problem this world and the akhirat as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many portions of the Quran reminds us that you are nothing, you didn't know anything except for what we have given you. You were given eyes, you have been given senses, that's where you're taking your knowledge. And then you have been given Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the book of Allah. That's the divine knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So without this, we don't know anything. We're in complete darkness. So here as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun, in the end of the ayat, that Allah knows and you do not know. That Allah jante hain aur tum beshak nahi jante. So this is up to here is some of the masail related to talaq, and then if they want to get back together. From ayat 233, the next ayat, can we go to, the next ayat, the discussion is starting about breastfeeding the children. Now, what is the connection talking about talaq and then talking about breastfeeding the kids? Now, what happens is right after the talaq, these are the type of masail that come up. Who will take the custody of the child? If the child is breastfeeding, should we continue with that? What's the period and the duration of the breastfeeding? All of that is something that comes right after talaq takes place. So here, this is the connection between the ayat. And I've said this many times that between every ayat there's hidden change and connections that give us, open our mind that Allah's kalam and speech are so beautifully connected with one another. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَ. وَالْوَالِدَاتُ, walida, the mother. Walidat, it's a plural, it's a jama, and many of the women who have kids. وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ. The mothers will breastfeed their kids for 2 full years. إِذَا أَرَادَ لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَ. Anyone who wants to complete the duration of breastfeeding. First thing to understand, it is the obligation of the mother to take care of this task. She is going to be accountable for it, doing the amal of breastfeeding, that obviously she is the one who's capable of doing it. Now, if she becomes lazy and says that I don't want to do it, without a valid reason, if she backs off, this is a right of the child. So she is going to be sinful in this case, that she is not fulfilling the right of her baby. So that's why the first thing to understand that this is the obligation of the mother. The second thing is, what is the duration? How long should she be? What is the right for that baby? That how long is the baby supposed to be breastfed? So the Quran says 2 full years. So 4 of the Imams, they have their description of this ayat. Imam Shafi, he says that, rahimahullah, he says that 2 years, and right after, the next day after 2 years, if breastfeeding takes place, no relationship will be established. That means if this baby is going to be established with a relationship with that mother, it has to be done within those 2 years. A similar case is with the Hanabila. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi has the same view, that even a moment after the 2 years, we're not going to allow any relationship to last. That means it's not allowed after 2 years to give a breast milk to the baby. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, he gave an extension of 2 months. He said that even after 2 years, if 2 more months she does it, in that time the relationship will be established. And we have to remember that it's not always the biological mother. It can be another woman giving feeding the baby, and it will put together and establish the relationship of fosterhood. She will become the foster mother by this. So according to the Ahnaf, Imam Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi says 2 years and 6 months is the extension. That even for 6 months, if she goes overboard, it's still okay. But his students, Imam Muhammad and Abu Yusuf rahimahullah, who have a stronger view in this case, they say that it's 2 years and we cannot move forward than 2 years. So the whole idea here is that everyone agrees that after 2.5 years, it's completely haram to give that baby milk. And this is something even the women sometimes don't know, that they become so connected with the child, they don't know that how long has it been that they have been breastfeeding the child. So it should not go over that period. After that, it is no longer the right of the child, and it's incorrect for the mother to go ahead and continue breastfeeding after that time. What is the wisdom? The scholars have written different wisdoms of what's the point of keeping it in this limit. They have said that in the first 24 months, from 24 to 30 months of the baby's life, it's where the bones of the baby are hardening, they're becoming hard. And the flesh is growing also, and both of these things are happening because of that milk. After 24 to 30 months, that no longer happens because of the milk. So that's why the Shariat has said 2 years. So it accomplishes that from a logical point of view. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says that حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ 2 years لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَن يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ, for those who want to fulfill the term of rada'ah. Rada'at is the term which is used for breastfeeding, or the amal of breastfeeding, that's the term which is used. Now the mother obligation is to feed, and now the father's obligation, وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. The father's obligation is to take care of the expenses, that the clothing, the food, the shelter, these are those things that the father has to take care of. Now if the wife is still his wife, let's say no divorce happened, she's his wife, so he doesn't have to give extra money for the breastfeeding. He's already taking care of it as a right of the wife. And if she is still in the iddah, let's say talaq happened and she's in the waiting period of that 3-month period, and she's breastfeeding, he doesn't have to give extra money because she's still under his care. There's no separate expenses that he has to do for the breastfeeding. But if she is completely divorced and the iddat is finished as well, the iddat is done, now he doesn't have to, the husband doesn't have to take care of her expenses. All he has to do is take care of the expenses of the breastfeeding and the children's expenses. So that's what is being talked about here, that alal mawludi. Notice a beautiful thing here, that walida, the word is used, and for the father, walid is not used, but is used as mawludi lahu, the one whom the child has been given to. So scholars have said that why not say walid, but say mawludi lahu. Walid was easier to say. So they have said that the reason here is that when expenses are being talked about, only the husband is being given this responsibility. Only the husband. So the husband might feel that why is it that I am the father, she is the mother, both of us should distribute the expenses. He might feel a burden there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him a mawlud lahu, giving him an extra nisbat, that a child has been given to you and he is ascribed to you. The lineage of the baby doesn't go from the mother, it goes from the father. And that's the beautiful significance that is being talked about here, that you are the one that the child is being ascribed to, that the nisbat of the child is with you and not with the mother, so you take care of the expenses of the breastfeeding. So the father will not feel that burden that we should both be, oh, I have an extra level of nisbat with the child, that my lineage is being carried on as well through this baby. لا تكلف نفس إلا وسعها وعلى المولود له رزقهن. और बाप के लिए यह है कि उसका खाने का इंतजाम और उसके पहनने का इंतजाम करे उसके अपनी बीवी के मुताबिक, बिल मारूफ, दस्तूर के मुताबिक. ला तुकल्लफु नफ्सुन इल्ला वुसअहा. No soul is burdened more than its capacity. ला तुकल्लफु नफ्सुन इल्ला वुसअहा. किसी को भी उसकी गुंजाइश से ज्यादा तकलीफ नहीं दी जाती. Now, in this context here, the ayat means that if the husband cannot afford much, then he's not going to be asked to do too much for their clothing and for their sustenance. It's according to how much he can afford. But in general cases, this ayat works almost in every ahkam of Sharia, that everyone is obligated to do only according to their capacity. One person might be able to do and follow many injunctions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other might not be able to, even if he wants to, he cannot do it. So if the capability is not there, then Allah is not asking us to do something. Any hukum is prescribed to us. Allah knows this person has the capability to do it. That's why it's being given to begin with. And if a person it's impossible for him to do it, then there is no sin. That's very simple to understand. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La tukallafu nafsun illa wus'aha. It will be according to his capacity, how much he can bear, and that will be the expenses taken care of through that. La tudarra walidatun biwaladiha wala mawludun lahu biwaladi. Now, the mother will not be made to suffer because of her child. The wala mawludun lahu biwaladi, and the father will not be made to suffer because of his child. What does it mean? That if the mother, she can breastfeed, she can do it, but just to bother the father because there is a separation or because there is a friction between them, just to have harm come onto him, she says that I don't want to or I cannot do it. You get somebody or hire a wet nurse to come and go ahead and breastfeed the child. So she's putting extra burden on him to pay for it, whereas she can do it herself. So that's what's being said, that do not put any harm onto the father because of his son. On the other hand, the husband cannot force her, that if she has a legitimate reason of not breastfeeding, the husband cannot force her. If he's going to force her, he's putting harm on her because of her baby. So here it's saying from both sides that no decision should be made just to harm the other. It should be done only in a case that there is agreement from both sides. لا تضار والدة بولدها, माँ को उसके बच्चे के वजह से नुकसान न पहुंचाया जाए, वला मौलूद लहू बिवलदी, और ना बाप को उसके बच्चे के वजह से नुकसान पहुंचाया जाए. So both the things, whatever is decided about breastfeeding, it's going to be in accordance with the mutual agreement. وعلى الوارث مثل ذلك, and on the inheritors is similar to the injunctions here. Let's say that the father has passed away, it's an orphan. So first he was the one responsible to take care of the breastfeeding expenses. Now he's passed away. So the transferring of these injunctions will be on the inheritors of that baby. Let's say if the baby were to die, who are the people that are going to take from the baby's wealth? If there is some wealth there, who are those that are going to be inheriting from that child that passes away? They are going to become the responsible of fulfilling the expenses. For example, a child passes away and he leaves behind a mother and a grandfather. That's all that's left behind. So usually in the laws of inheritance, 1/3 is given to the mother. If there's no other children involved, 1/3 is given of the wealth. And 2/3 is given to the grandfather. So these are those people that are going to be in charge of his, when he is alive, they are going to be the ones in charge of taking care of the expenses that are coming for breastfeeding in the same proportion. That means if there is a bill that comes for breastfeeding for a particular amount, 2/3 of it will be paid by the grandfather and 1/3 of it will be paid by the mother. This is a kind of a technical issue here, and to understand that it might be a little difficult, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the transfer of the responsibility will come onto the warithin. And these are those warithin of the child, that if he were to die, who are those that are going to inherit from him? They are going to become responsible of the expenses after the father, and it will be proportionate to how much they are going to inherit from him. فَإِنْ أَرَادَ وَعَلَى الْوَارِثِ مِثْلُ ذَلِكَ, और वरसा पर इसी तरह से लाजिम होगा. अगर बाप का इंतकाल हो गया तो वरसा उस बच्चे का ख्याल रखेंगे और उसके उतना ही उसकी जिम्मेदारी आएगी जितना वो उससे मीरास में उसके हकदार होते हैं. فَإِنْ أَرَادَ فِصَالًا عَنْ تَرَاضٍ مِنْهُمَا. Now the husband and wife, both they decide that we're going to stop the breastfeeding before the 2-year time. And this happens many times, that sometimes they don't want to breastfeed, sometimes the woman is not developing enough milk, sometimes she's sick. So bottled milk is used in many cases. So if they want to do this before the 2-year period, they both have the right to, but it has to be done with agreement. It cannot be said that the husband has decided, the mother doesn't want, or the mother has decided and the father doesn't want to. This cannot happen, because the condition mentioned here is that if they decide to wean the baby off of breastfeeding, عَنْ تَرَاضٍ مِنْهُمَا, it has to be done with the razamandi, with the pleasure of both of them. وَتَشَاوُرٍ, and with mashura, with consultation. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا, they will have no sin if they do it in this case. So before the 2-year period comes to an end, they want to stop breastfeeding, both of them have to agree to it, and then it will be allowed. وَإِنْ أَرَدْتُمْ أَن تَسْتَرْضِعُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ, and if you are intending that you want to have somebody breastfeed your child, then you have to pay for it. So if someone else is going to step in and take care of the breastfeeding, it's going to be paid for. وَإِنْ أَرَدْتُمْ أَن تَسْتَرْضِعُوا, if you both of you have decided that you're going to have somebody breastfeed your child, أَوْلَادَكُمْ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ, there is no sin onto you, إِذَا سَلَّمْتُمْ, if you pay off مَا آتَيْتُمْ, what is decided, بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, in the most recognized manner. So beforehand, they're going to call in the wet nurse and decide that you're going to breastfeed our child for this much time, and usually this much money is given, so it's going to be negotiated between the parties and handed over before she even starts. So that is the right that will be given to the wet nurse. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Fear Allah and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is carefully watching everything that you do. So now we come to understand here that the Arabs had this custom that almost every child was being breastfed by other women. The biggest example for us, and the most perfect example, is the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Does anyone know how many women breastfed the Prophet alaihi salatu wasallam? So these are basic things in Sirah. We might have heard it a couple of times. We always hear about Halima Sa'diyah radiallahu anha. That's one. But besides Amina radiallahu anha, his biological mother, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mother, Amina bint Wahab is his mother. And besides her, there are 4 more women. You'll find it in Sirah that they have breastfed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, the first 7 days were taken care of Thuwayba radiallahu anha. That was the first. That means the first week. She took care. She breastfed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she also breastfed Hamza radiallahu anhu. So Hamza radiallahu anhu is the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he is also the foster brother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they have a mother in between that has breastfed both of them. So she was she's the first one, and she was always honored by Khadija radiallahu anha, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took care of all of them. Even after migration to Madinatul Munawwara, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would send gifts for Suwayba radiallahu anha that she's taken care of in every way whatsoever. She was freed by Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab is the one in Tabbat Yada Abi Lahab. He used to own her, and then he freed her. After she was freed, she came in and she took care of Rasulullah only for a week. Then the eighth day, the responsibility was given to Halima Sa'diyah radiallahu anha. She's the most prominent one out of all 4. That's why you'll find her mentioned more in books of Sirah than others. So Halima Sa'diyah radiallahu anha, she takes him on the 8th day. And after that, it was also known that these women, they would not just take the baby and stay there. They would live in the deserted areas of Arabia. The reason for that was the babies would grow up strong in that area. And also they would learn the refined Arabic of the Bedouins. They would grow up in the harsh areas. They wanted their children to grow up and learn everything the very raw and ghetto way, so they will be strong and tough individuals. So Halima Sa'diyah radiallahu anha, right when she takes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam into her care, she notices all the barakat in her conveyance, in her possessions, in her time, in her wealth. She was surprised that who is this child, that everything that I do is now it's multiplying. Allah is giving me so much. So that's why her story is so famous in the case of the breastfeeding of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But every 6 months she would keep him in the deserted area, do his tarbiyat, but every 6 months she would bring him back to Makkah so that he can meet his mother Amina radiallahu anha and his grandfather who was alive. Who was the grandfather of Rasulullah? Abdul Muttalib, yes. So we should know some of these basic things because we love Rasulullah more than anyone else, right? More than our parents, more than ourselves. So that means that's our hero. We know who breastfed our Rasulullah. We know how long he lived, how did he live. All of that has to be covered. Who was his father? Who was the father of Rasulullah? Do you know? Abdullah radiallahu anhu. So the next one after Halima Sa'diyah, there is a mentioning of a name called Khawla bint Munzir. There's not much mentioning a description about how long she took care of him, but she's also in that list. And then the one after that is Bakarah radiallahu anha, also known as Ayman. That's how we know her, that she was the slave of Amina radiallahu anha, right? And not only Amina, but the husband Abdullah radiallahu anhu was the one who bought her. She was sold as an Abyssinian slave in Mecca, and Abdullah radiallahu anhu, the father of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he bought Ayman. She became Ayman later. She had a son named Ayman, so she became Ayman. Her name is Barakah radiallahu anha. So she is one of those who took care of Rasulullah ﷺ and has seen and stood by him his whole life. This is not found by any other individual. She was the first one to take him into her arms. No one else, right? When he came into the world, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah ﷺ was in the hands of Ayman radiallahu anha. And throughout his life, she's always been around taking care of whatever he needed. And when Amna radiallahu anha was about to pass away, she gave the responsibility to Ayman. She said that you become his mother and never leave his side. So scholars have said that she is the one who fulfilled the right that was put onto her, that she was there, and Rasulullah ﷺ passed away before her. So she was there when he was born, she was there when he passed away as well. The whole life of Rasulullah ﷺ was with this woman, and Allah's Rasul ﷺ also gave her the glad tidings of Jannah as well, because of all the suffering she did to support the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So these four names are there besides Amina radiallahu anha. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we can see, that this was a norm at that time. It was something known that, okay, others can also take care of my baby, but their right was fulfilled, right? If there was somebody breastfeeding, the money was given and their time and their compensation was negotiated beforehand. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, and fear Allah. Allah said, डरते रहो, وَعْلَمُوا, और जान लो, أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ बसीर, के बेशक Allah तुम्हें खूब देखता है, जो तुम कर रहे हो उसे Allah खूब देख रहे हैं. Now, after every command that Allah is talking about in this last 2-3 ruku, we've noticed that Allah is reminding us that this is the law, and at the end Allah says, I'm watching you, I'm there, I know what's going on. So that's something that cannot be done in this world. People can get around the laws of the world. They can hire the best lawyers and get away with the biggest things. But in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is keep on reminding us that these are the laws put down by me. But if you try to play with them, if you try to get around, in this world you might feel that you're very smart, but in the akhirat, you can never ever get around the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why this reminder keeps coming. Allah is watching you. Allah knows what you're doing. Allah knows you do not know. This is the type of warnings are being given with every law and injunction which is mentioned here. Inshallah, we're going to stop here, ayat 233, and inshallah we'll continue. Now sessions will continue after the Hajj, inshallah, because next Sunday we have another seminar for the Hajj. It's a revision. And then after that, I'm going to be busy for the weekend after that. So we'll be able to continue. Up to here, we've completed, alhamdulillah, 60 sessions of Tafseer, 60. So all of that is uploaded now. It's on our website. And if some of us have just joined us today, you have to listen from behind everything that's been talked about so far. And Surah Al-Bakarah, why is it taking so long? You see, in every ayat, there's injunctions. These are laws. Not every surah is like this. Some surahs just talk about the greatness of Allah, akhirat, then the previous nations, how they disobey. That's there, and that goes through like a breeze. Because if we know stories of prophets, it goes through quickly. But here it's like everything, there's fiqh involved. You have to stop and explain as to what the four imams say about this ayat and that ayat. So alhamdulillah, we've covered masail of talaq, we've covered masail of nikah, and today we covered the masail of breastfeeding.